In this video, I'd like to explain basically a lot of understandings about human rights. These are actually class action lawsuits against human rights. It could be, or it could not be. I'm explaining these because I have a very high conscious understanding of creation. I explain this in many videos. First, I'm going to talk about Canadian human rights. This affects other human rights in basically probably every other country, but first thing is, in Canadian human rights, is basically to have a paragraph and have a better understanding or an understanding of the idea of falsely accusing someone of a human rights thing. Now this can be very, very devastating. So this is the understanding of the effects of falsely accusing somebody of a human rights thing. Basically, you also have to explain in a paragraph basically the understanding of the consequences and the others of falsely accusing someone of a human rights thing. This understanding is because it could be considered like fraud, extortion, defamation of character. So when you wrote the code and you tried to understand all these things, people were different. People are now more fourth dimensional than they were three-dimensional. I'm going to explain this because when you go all over the internet, I'm part of hundreds of Facebook groups, and I have lots of my own videos here explaining all these ideas of an ascension to a higher consciousness. How devastating it is. Now the biggest, when people become fourth or fifth dimensional, you don't really need a lot of the human rights laws anyways, because it really doesn't affect that, because people, a lot of the things against discrimination, people don't even it doesn't even enter their mind, about a person's skin color and disabilities and things like that. Now, from a higher dimensional law point of view, is that these people who would say themselves as a starseed, a light worker, ascending ones, they are just as much as a group, as your skin color, as a religious belief, and even more so because I awaken to higher, like a 8th-dimensional reality, and I can explain all about other universes and extraterrestrials, crop circles. I've been on ships with them, and I can prove all this in a court of law, by the way. Read DeGlore's Cannon's books, The Three Waves of Volunteers. This will help you begin to understand some of the basis of this. I have I work with lots of these people. I get so many emails, like every week. I get so many people coming in, they want to know all these things, they don't know who to turn to. Well, I've awakened. Now, the second thing about, which is class action lawsuit because of all of us sort of awakening ones, is the idea of extraterrestrial discrimination. Basically the idea is on anything projecting or trying to relate extraterrestrials to being going to take us over, kill us, the reptilians are manipulating and controlling us, etc., like on movies or literature, whatever, Facebook groups. Sometimes the discrimination is just atrocious on social media. Because basically the idea is to basically have a disclaimer just explaining the idea that extraterrestrials, we have no evidence that they are going to take us over, control us, manipulate us, that they're going to do all kinds of evil, nasty things to us. In fact, it's the total opposite. And if you actually look around, all the evidence that you'll find that all of it will relate to the idea that extraterrestrials, and lots of people have proof about all this now, is that they're very benevolent and very loving beyond belief, and all they're trying to do is help us into a higher conscious level. I have many videos explaining the crop circles. All crop circles have to do with helping us to ascend to a higher conscious level, They put a lot into them. So when you see a crop circle, there are so many different things actually in a crop circle. And the main repeating message in crop circles are 3 to 5. Follow all the circles, the lines. If you're smart, you'll find it. You don't even have to be smart to find it because it's there. But if you are three-dimensional, you like the idea of fear. This goes back again to the idea of basic human right about is not a basic human right that human rights should have a human right that, you know, to explain the idea of false witness, you know. Go back, one of the, I suppose, oldest laws in humanity, it goes back to the 10 Commandments where you have, thou shalt not, you know, bear false witness. And, you know, three-dimensional people do that. They don't really care what happens, okay? But if they thought they'd get in trouble, they would. But if they need to explain to them because, you know, they just want to get even with somebody, manipulate somebody, whatever, you know, one of the best ways to understand is, you know, anyways. Now, some other aspects of these, of human rights law is sometimes how much you say support religious ideas sometimes, because as I'm awakened, I remember so many aspects of things, and I don't know, half the stuff in religion is a bunch of hokey pokey crap, and you can prove it all, and you can have a lot of them all thrown in jail for fraud and extortion because they're taking money and lying to people. And there are certain aspects that you know need to be dealt with now or explained. Other ones can be dealt with later. One thing is when they explain there's no such thing as past life regression, reincarnation. I was told this when I was a kid, and that was totally wrong. I knew it was totally wrong at the time. I always told everybody different, even when I was a kid. We're all eternal beings. We all live forever and ever. We play many endless shapes and forms and endless universes just for our own amusement and for our shared amusements. It's a collectiveness in all of creation, because you know it's ever-ending ocean at sea. This is a free will creates the idea of somewhere somebody's going to have a new idea of seeing something, and creation never gets bored. This is the idea of free will and a free will universe like the one that we have here now. Another aspect is the idea of hypnosis and of what it is, because people get a wrong idea portrayed by the media that someone's going to manipulate and control you. And that's totally not true, and it needs to be explained to people, because it's one of the greatest gifts that a person can give themselves or do for themselves is just to go into a focus, to enjoy life more, to become a better sports player, better at whatever they want. And this goes back to the idea of the movie The Secret, the law of attraction, Abraham Hicks, is how the feeling creates a reality. But this is with hypnosis, and I explain this. I have a video of manifestation, how to create the reality you want, how the feeling creates the reality. So some of these concepts sort of cross over sometimes into religion, and it depends on like human rights, how much how much you say support some of these ideas. And especially when I look back at across the border into the United States, I see TV evangelists, and a few of them come up here once in a while into Canada, but the fraud and extortion, these people are unbelievable liars. Now, to explain the idea of higher dimensional law is that when everyone shifts to higher and higher conscious levels, we become more and more clairvoyant, more and more intuition, and downright telepathy. And I'm at that point, and I see everything. I could have thousands of class action lawsuits against all three-dimensional stuff and become the richest person in the world. But that's a three-dimensional idea. Fifth-dimensional ideas help to inspire people. I'm making this video not so that anyone has any lawsuits or court actions against anybody or anything. It's about simply inspiring people to reach higher conscious levels, to understand themselves and the creation more. Anyways, this is the one about some aspects of human rights. There's more, but you know, a couple of basic things there about the idea of explaining, falsely accusing somebody. And this goes, bearing false witness, this also goes into regular court system, because so many people get falsely accused of things. And mind you, sometimes people don't know, and but this also goes into law enforcement, because you can have people that do hypnosis and more clairvoyant people that just know whether these things are really true or not before you even file charges, or even in the court system. With hypnosis, I know that some hypnotists that work especially with court system, and there's been so many men being falsely accused of things against children that I'm sure you know what I mean, that aren't true. And then especially one thing where this is a very classic scenario here, where husband and wife, they're married, they got a few kids. Well, next thing, wife, I don't know, for whatever reason, she just takes off with another guy and leave the husband with the kids. The husband is supporting the kids, taking care of them a couple of years. All of a sudden, the relationship with the other guy, the woman and the guy, goes bad. What's she going to do? She has no living, no place to go. What's she going to do? So they falsely accuse the ex-husband, or whatever, separated, of some nasty, atrocious deed that never happened. This is where hypnosis comes in very well to figure out what did happen and what didn't. But this is a very classic case that's been played out so many times in the court system. And it's the writing on the wall there. Oh, well, she took off for a couple of years and now she wants back, and she's manipulating, bearing like false witness. This is in the regular court system, how these people, when they get caught doing this, there's nothing really ever. Maybe judge gives some stern words, but whatever happens to the person, do you ever think how bad and how atrocious and all awful that is? Just helping you understand, from a human rights point of view, to have human rights, it's a right to explain the idea of bearing false witness against another person, because that is a basic human right. Just think about it. Well, thank you for watching my video. I have many more explaining about extraterrestrials, other dimensions, many quantum physics, all kinds of different things.